Every year, 6% of Bahamian
children are born with a heart defect.
We at Cable 12
and the Nassau Guardian decided
to lend a helping hand
in creating more awareness to the cost of saving little hearts.
One surgery
can cost up to
$250,000.
We at Cable 12
and the Nassau Guardian
hear their cry.
We are asking you to make a donation
to these efforts.
Embrace the opportunity
and save a little heart.
Good evening, Bahamas. It's Tuesday, February 19th, 2013, and this is NB12. Coming up in news tonight, College of the Bahamas students demand answers in the wake of proposed subvention cuts and tuition hikes. And the president responds. A pastor says the Bahamian people should decide who can and can't marry in the country. Some urban renewal workers relieved of their posts, plus a look at how the rich and famous live and play aboard their luxury yachts. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. I'm Christina McNeil, and your NB12 starts right now. College of the Bahamas President Dr. Betsy Vogel-Bose is allaying fears about proposed tuition hikes and spending cuts at the college after recommendations were made to the College Council last week. But the proposed changes are still not sitting well with the college community, which today put forth some of the lingering questions surrounding possible changes and subvention cuts.
Dr. Betsy, if you're listening to this, you need to know what's going on with the scholarship students, because I pay my school fee on time. If I don't pay my school fee, y'all drop my classes. So just how I need my money, y'all need yours, so y'all need to get your act together.
A lot of the AA classes have been discontinued because they've discontinued the associates in mass communication. These are people who are planning and working in reporting. These are people who are planning and working in broadcast media. These are people who are planning to improve the general, zeitness and whatnot like that. So what will happen to programs like that? We already cut out religion, which makes no sense if we're a Christian nation. But anyway, I'm curious as to the ramifications of taking out more programs. Like, will my program be stopped?
Nearly 200 students, faculty, staff, and members of the public gathered at Independence Park on the college's campus this afternoon, raising awareness about the proposed subvention cuts COB may face in the upcoming fiscal year. Details of some of the recommendations were made public Sunday, including a $25 per credit per year tuition hike over 2 years, a hiring freeze, and halt to new programs at the college. College of the Bahamas Union of Students President Ernesto Williams says students cannot be asked to pay increased tuition when the service they receive does not reflect the cost of education.
How can we expect to pay a tuition increase when the quality of service here at the College of the Bahamas is still poor, it's still mediocre, and we still have yet to be treated like the actual individuals that make this college tick? And then for faculty, and then to say that contact hours will be aligned with credit hours, which could definitely mean an increase in load for faculty and staff who we need. And you want to put a suspension on faculty and staff when you know quite surely that we need help maintaining this place on the whole?
COB President Dr. Betsy Vogel-Bose today telling NB12 that although recommendations for spending cuts and revenue boosts were made to the College Council last week, everything is still in the draft stage and no final decisions have been made yet. Bose says it is challenging to face such subvention cuts proposed by government.
This is just a first draft that was presented to College Council. It's under discussion. We are still in a receiving mode. We're preparing a letter for the Ministry of Finance to make suggestions on these and other recommendations so that instead of actually reducing our services or reducing our programs, we can continue to grow and be successful. It's very challenging to move to university status and to build the excellence that we need to build with reduction in subvention. At this point, no decisions have been made. We're exploring all avenues. We don't wish to have any involuntary employment separation, so we are trying to protect our own people and to protect our students and make sure that they have the best quality courses and programs available to them right here in the Bahamas.
A statement released by the college last night explained that COB has embarked on a process to involve its constituents, faculty, staff, students, and bargaining agents in deliberations over how the institution may make its operations more efficient while bolstering existing sources of revenue and developing new ones. COB says there are no plans to reduce staff levels. Williams says students should be prepared to speak out on the future of education in the country.
This is our college. This is ours. This is the public's college. We keep the lights on. We pay these people salary. We pay quite amount of money to be here. Right now, I know many students at the College of the Bahamas who do not have the funds to incur a tuition increase, who are already trying to find lunch money on a regular day basis. They don't know the struggles of a student.
Students are set to march from the college's Oaksfield campus to the Ministry of Education for a meeting with the Education Minister tomorrow morning. Well, when the government presents its mid-year budget next week, it is expected to take action toward lowering the debt burden. According to a letter issued by the Ministry of Finance, government is proposing to cut the budgets of its various departments and agencies by 25% in the 2014-2015 fiscal year. MB12 caught up with Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis this morning, who explained that government is still in discussions about where cuts will be made.
We have not, there's no firm decisions made yet as to where subventions cuts will be made. But we are asking the corporations of the government to develop initiatives to lower their overheads and costs at least by 10% immediately.
Institutions have been asked to submit a financial plan to the government by January 31st that shows a reduction in subventions by 10% in the 2013-2014 fiscal year and 25% in the next fiscal year. Davis says institutions will have to consider where excess fat can be trimmed and which programs and initiatives can be put off until the future.
It's a management matter. They'll have to look at where there may be some wastage, or or look at initiatives that they have engaged that they don't need to continue with at this time. And that's what each of the corporations will have to do. Identify wastage where there is and eliminate it, and look at initiatives that they have adopted that could be postponed for the immediate future.
Well, a local pastor dismissing the call from gay activists to consider giving them equal rights to marry. This comes after Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett said the issue will inevitably come before Bahamian courts. As Paige McCartney tells us in this report, that pastor says a decision such as that should be left up to the masses, and in his opinion, the masses are against same-sex marriage.
Senior pastor of Kingdom Life Church, Cedric says he thinks the majority of Bahamians are in agreement with him that same-sex marriages should not be allowed by law. And he doesn't think that a law allowing it in the Bahamas would come up in his lifetime or the lifetime of the next generation.
Moss said, though, that the topic is at the forefront of national discussion because it's consistent with what's happening around the world. But he says same-sex marriage is not an issue for Parliament or for the courts to decide on, but rather it's an issue for citizens to choose what they want. Moss said he believes same-sex marriage is a more important issue than legalized gambling, and if the Bahamas can hold a referendum for that issue, then there should also be one for same-sex marriages.
We live in a democracy, and the values of the majority should prevail. I think if the majority of citizens in the country want same-sex marriage, then same-sex marriage will be the order of the day. If that happens, I and other faithful Christians will not support same-sex marriage, but it would happen in the country. I would not marry a same-sex couple, but I would respect that that's what the majority wants.
But gay, lesbian, and transgender rights activists NB12 spoke with earlier this week said they have witnessed marriages already taking place in the Bahamas in churches that are more sensitive to homosexuals. But according to Moss, those weren't real marriages, just ceremonies that aren't recognized by God or the state.
Marriage is between a man and a woman. Anything other than that is a counterfeit. And the problem with it is once you start to remove a boundary stone and you say, okay, it's no longer going to be between a man and a woman, I want it to be between two men and two women. But what about polygamy? What about a man marrying his daughter? Why shouldn't he be able to do that? Or a brother marrying his father? Why shouldn't they be able to do that? So I think that's the problem with it. These are not marriages. These are counterfeit marriages.
In fact, Moss says there's no difference in the definition of marriage between the church and the state because he believes God is the creator of marriage and the two bodies cannot separate the institution. The pastor's stance against same-sex marriage is also a stance against homosexuality. He said people are free to love whomever they choose. However, sexual acts outside of a marriage, even between a man and a woman, are condemned by God.
God has defined sexual activity to take place in the boundaries of marriage. All sexual activity outside of marriage, whether it is heterosexual in the form of adultery or fornication, or homosexuality, they're all wrong. So there is no room to say otherwise other than what God has said. Marriage is the only context for sexual activity, and it is between a man and a woman.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Paige McCartney.
As the government explores new ways to bring in additional revenue, an Atlantis official is encouraging government to look at what he feels has become a forgotten industry, the yacht business. Each year, hundreds of yachts and mega yachts quietly sail into Bahamian waters, bringing with them tens of millions of dollars in revenue. Vonique Toot takes a look at how the other side lives.
The yacht business has grown exponentially over the years, pumping anywhere from $50 to $70 million into the Bahamian economy annually. Here on Paradise Island, the Atlantis Marina pulls in more than $5 million in marina revenue alone. Director of Marina Operations Peter Murray says March will be booming.
Oh, we'll be sold out. I mean, we're going to fill the marina. We have 62 slips. Our wait list for March, I mean, we also run Hurricane Hole. We've filled that marina as well. So we have a considerable number of boats on our wait list trying to get in that unfortunately we're not able to accommodate at this time.
The Atlantis Marina serves as a temporary home to some of the biggest and most expensive toys of the super rich. These floating palaces boast unique features and carry price tags in the hundreds of millions. 52 boats are currently docked at the marina. However, Maury points out it's not so much the amount of vessels, but rather the sizes. Take the Martha Ann, for instance. This baby is 232 feet long and will be docked here at the Atlantis Marina for the rest of the month. Maury says they will bring in tens of thousands of dollars off this boat alone.
His daily dockage is going to be $1,500 a day in dockage, and then we have him on 400 amps of 480 power, which is, he's probably using, $1,200 a day. Dockage and electricity, you're looking at, $40,000 for their stay, plus casino play and restaurants. I mean, our nightclubs, everything else, those bills can be in the tens of thousands of dollars.
The average monthly budget for a vessel this big is over $350,000 a month. The Martha Ann has 15 to 20 crew members on board and can accommodate 10 to 12 guests. The yacht also has a wet bar, dive compressors, tenders, wave runners, 6 staterooms with smooth marble floors and winding staircases.
I mean, pretty much anything you can imagine doing at sea, something like that would have it.
Martha Ann is more expensively decorated than most people's homes. Maury estimates it would cost $350,000 a week to charter a yacht like this. Add expenses to that and you're looking at about $500,000 a week. Now, here's how the Bahamas benefits.
One of the greatest revenue generators for the government now is the tax on fuel, and I'd say between all the marinas in the Bahamas, we're probably selling close to, especially, you know, the big refueling stations up in Freeport and stuff, they're probably doing 5 million gallons a year. At a $5 average, the government gets 50% of that, you know, based on the duty rate. So you're talking, you know, 5 million gallons, it's $25 million. It's over $12 million in fuel revenues, you know, just for the government alone.
He believes there is potential to expand this lucrative business. Key to the growth of the yacht business, he says, is the development and expansion of more marinas on the Family Islands. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonik Toot.
Coming up, change is underway in the urban renewal program. Why workers say they were relieved of their positions.